C10 Talk, episode 125. Eric Stanczak. Who is Eric Stanczak? Eric Stanczak is a chief engineer of full-size trucks at Chevrolet. He's also who Chevy chose to go interview Mr. Paul Hitch. I reached out to Eric. I wanted to get his thoughts and reaction to interviewing Mr. Hitch, a true GM legend.
We had a very good long conversation in his home, and then extended that into into a very picturesque scene where he took shots of the trucks, and we got a chance to have a lot of ad lib discussion, and then we actually had dinner together. So both Paul and Doug, we spent a lot of time talking about things in general, and I felt exceptionally fortunate to be able to spend that time and pick his brain, and likewise he did mine as well, and it was fun just having that dialogue with him.
Damn, son.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 Truck podcast. Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
All right. What up, C10 Nation? How the hell you guys been? I tell you what, it feels like I haven't dropped an episode in a while, and I've been sitting on these episodes because I'm probably overthinking everything. I'm trying to make sure that this interview and the history segment, mostly with Paul Hitch being the focal point of this whole interview and kind of where I'm going with this thing. I went over Paul's interview a few times, and bottom line is I reached out to Eric, Mr. Stanczak, who is a chief engineer as well, currently with GM and with Chevrolet, and I was like, I kind of wanted to get his thoughts and then blend those together. Well, I don't think that that's the way to go. I think that we're gonna roll out Eric's interview, which was, it's quick. It's a quick one. His reaction, his thoughts to interviewing Paul Hitch, and then I have Paul's main body. And then what's happened is I've sat down and because of our interaction, we've become friends, and I've got a few more interviews and some more content. So I've been, mulling that over. Do I kind of morph that together and combine it? And that's what I'm going to do. So when I get back from LST, I'll put all that together and make the best damn episode I can with Mr. Paul Hitch. Now, I've also reached out to a guy for probably what feels like to me 3 years on the forum. He finally reached out to me. He's somebody who worked on the trucks in the factory and still works for GM to this day. So that's one of those guys that, you keep working, you keep grinding, you reach out to these guys, and literally, he reached out. He called me. I was like, holy shit, finally, this is starting to kind of all happen. So we're going to kick it off with Eric. We're going to have Mr. Paul Hitch, who will be 102 in March. 102. Damn, son. And I tell you what, he's still with it. And really, just an enjoyable guy. Really like to talk to him. He's still very passionate about Chevrolet trucks, the old trucks and the history that he's had, and even today's trucks. So things are good. I just need to kind of get all this stuff out. And again, I'd probably been overthinking it, trying to make it too good, and just need to get stuff out to you guys because it's really all good, and it's the content that's there, and it's the guests. Mr. Paul Hitch, his son Doug, and then Eric Stanczak. So we appreciate Eric spending the time with us, and we're just going to keep grinding. Speaking of grinding, getting ready for LST, that's something else that I've been kind of working on. It's been taking up a little bit of my time, but we're going to take Yellowstone out to LST for the eastbound and down to the throwdown. We're going to leave next Wednesday. We got probably the biggest group we've had so far, a convoy from Cali, Arizona. We're going to go through, we'll pick up some people, southern Arizona, Tucson area. We're going to go through New Mexico and then head on over to Conroe, north of Houston for LST, eastbound and down to the throwdown, our third run over there, and Yellowstone's third run. So, all said and done, I'll have put probably almost 8,000 miles on that truck going to LST and back. So pretty proven truck, and kind of ironic because Paul said that he was probably his proudest truck was the 73 model. And it's kind of funny that I'm driving Yellowstone, a 1973 crew cab, the first year of the crew cabs. Now, things are a little different. Obviously, it's a little lower. And what I've been working on is getting that overdrive in, because in years past with the Turbo 400 and the big block, I'm getting about 8 miles a gallon and pushing that truck pretty hard. So a little different this time. We're going to have the Holley Terminator, which is going to be the throttle body. We're going to have the 4L80 transmission. So we're getting the kickdown. We're getting the fourth gear. I've got a new GC cooling radiator. And all in all, I'm really hoping for 2, 3, maybe 4 miles a gallon. I don't know that we'll get quite that, because I'm sure we'll be pushing it hard on the speed. But if I was going 65, I probably could get 12. I'm sure we'll be cruising right around 70. We'll kind of see what happens. But so I'm getting that ready, and it's always something. I cracked a valve cover the other night, so thank God, Big Ten Bowman, Jason Bowman, Big Ten Garage, he's back in town. He's back in Phoenix. Took it over to him. He's going to weld the valve cover up while I'm at work, seal it up. Got a few little leaks and some tuning issues, and we'll be ready to rock. So it's going to be a good time. And again, hopefully we get some dry weather. So a few other shows. Last year, Cole Cart, he rolled out with us, and we put like 4,000 miles on his truck. He's got the bare metal short bed with the stack coming out the hood, the diesel, and very unique truck, very unique owner. I mean, Jeremy, you won't forget him. He's a rad dude in one rad ass truck. He and a couple of his buddies, namely Travis CTP, are kind of behind the Poor Boy Autorama. So the concept is $3,500 is a max budget, and you buy a car for, I don't know, whatever, $1,000, $1,500. Well, now you got $2,000 to spend on parts. So what they're going to do, you got to drive it. So you got to drive it from wherever you're at, and you got to get to Vegas. So you got to get to the Pioneer Saloon. The entries are going to close on March 1st to sign up and get entered, and then everybody works on their trucks the rest of the month. You get your car, your truck, whatever you're building up to the Pioneer Saloon in Vegas, March 30th, and they're going to have prizes and they're going to have a show. If I can make it, I'll cover it. I just don't know what I got going on right in that time frame. So March 30th, Poor Boy Autorama. Follow Cole Cart D10 or CTP, Travis CTP. I think Vulcan's going to do something with it too. So get online or send me a message and I can link you the information. But the bottom line is $3,500 max budget. March 1st is the deadline. March 30th is the show, Pioneer Saloon in Vegas. Another group of shows is the Battle in Bama. That's going to be May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Not only is that Battle in Bama, but that's the same weekend as the C10 Nationals. And we went to the C10 Nationals last year, Texas Motor Speedway. And I can tell you, we had an absolute blast. I'm not sure if I'm going to make either one of those shows this year. I'd like to get the Battle in Bama because I haven't been out there and support that. Just a lot going on because we are going to go to the Mississippi Crawfish Show, which is in April. So many different things going on. But C10 Nationals, May 4th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Battle in Bama, same thing, 3, 4, and 5. And then they're going to have the C10s in the South, which I was confused on that. The C10s in the South is the same show as Battle in Bama. It's just that essentially what I've been told is there's going to be a small area or an area set aside for the C10 folks. So inside the truck show or the car truck show of Battle in Bama is going to be the C10s of the South. So it's the same show, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And that show's in Alabama. C10 Nationals is in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas Motor Speedway. So a lot to choose from and a lot going on. That doesn't even get into the stuff that we've got throughout the summer and then on into the fall. So we'll update you as we kind of go. So let's get after it, okay? Mr. Paul Hitch, he will be 102 in March, and we'll drop that show next. My goal is to drop that the following week of this. So that's when I get back from Texas. That's going to be like February 26th, 27th, and 28th. You will see episode 126 with Mr. Paul Hitch, Chief Engineer of trucks, Chevrolet trucks from 1965 until 1976-ish. So pretty much he was the chief engineer when the C10s and the C10 era was designed and produced. And he's a really amazing guy and a legend. And you'll hear both Eric and I talk about that. So So that's kind of what I've been working on, some GM history stuff. I'm also working with some GM folks as well on some other GM history stuff to kind of keep bringing you more of this stuff. I obviously dig it. I think it's a big part of the lineage of not only the trucks we see today, but why we love the trucks and the passion that we have for this. So Eric Stanczak, here we go. I did ask Eric, and they kind of had a moderator assigned as well, a few of the questions, and they had to shut some of them down. I think it's kind of like, well, for example, one of them was about GMC trucks and do they work together? Well, because there isn't a GMC truck person there, they couldn't really expand on the question or elaborate on the question. Another one that I brought up was obviously with all the stuff going on, the 2019 release and the 2020, the new HD stuff. Well, when I had interviewed Eric, it was probably about a week, if not 2 weeks. I'm going to go right about a week before they launched that new 2020 HD, which social media has been pretty rough, and myself included on the Chevrolet. I like the GMC a little bit better, but the Chevrolet one that they had that first dropped was didn't get a lot of rave reviews. I'll tell you right there. Some of the different jokes and the memes and some of the stuff that came from that. So I did talk to them a little bit about that, but because the truck hadn't launched yet, they said they have to hold off. And she said, "Hey, call us back." So maybe I'll take him up on that. The bottom line is I don't, I hope that those trucks grow on us. You've heard me talk about that. I hope that the aftermarket kind of comes up what they do and what they always tend to do, and we just get behind these trucks, because obviously I'm a Chevy guy, a GM guy at heart. So we'll see. But I did kind of ask Eric some of those tougher questions, and again, there's a few things they couldn't elaborate on. But he was really great with his time. Nice guy. Really, I think he enjoyed that there's crazy dudes like me and the listener, you, the C10 Nation, that's so passionate about GM and GMC and Chevrolet trucks that he of course would take the time to help with that. And he's got a few really nice rides himself, and you'll hear him talk about that. So enough of that. Let's get to Eric. You guys enjoy the show. It's not a very long one. Here's a quick message from our sponsors, and then we'll get right into Eric. And again, we'll be after LST, we'll be back with Paul. So thanks, you guys. Have a great week. Late. Classic Performance Products, CPP, has a few new products out. Let's start with their new HydroStop Street Beast hydraulic assist systems. CPP's HydroStop Street Beast is a direct fit, high-performance hydraulic brake assist system that works great when running a performance engine setup and there is not enough vacuum produced to operate a traditional booster. Simply plumb into your power steering system and share the fluid reservoir with your power steering pump to your high-performance brake system. Assembled with all new parts, this unit puts out an amazing 1800 PSI at the wheels. How about their new 14-inch big brake kits? CPP now offers a 6-piston, 14-inch big brake system for your Chevy truck, featuring 2-piece pre-assembled drilled, slotted, and zinc-coated rotors, 6-piston billet aluminum calipers with DOT-compliant dust and weather seals, premium stainless hardware, and braided stainless brake hoses. These brakes work with their modular and Corvette-style spindles. Remember, use C10 Talk at checkout and save 10% off your order. Damn, son, 10%? www.classicperform.com. I use precision replacement parts on my builds because I demand quality and I demand precision. If you want the best weather stripping, demand precision. PRP.com. It's that easy. PRP.com. Seriously, check this out. OEM designed parts. It's easy to install, and you have a lifetime warranty. Everything from windshield seals, rear window seals, door seals, roof rail seals, vent window seals, beltline molding, glass run channels, trunk seals, hood decal. You need it, they've got it. They also have their vent window refurbishing program. You send in your wing windows, and they send them back, and they're completely rebuilt, disassembled, sandblasted, painted, and they replace and install new weather stripping, new glass, and handles. Talk about quality, talk about precision, and that's why I use Precision Replacement Parts. PRP.com. And follow them on social media as well. Have you heard about Marque's new square body molding? Guess what? You could check it out. SquareBodyMolding.com. SquareBodyMolding.com. Something that's been in the works, and it's finally out. It debuted at SEMA 2018 on SSO2. The highest quality trim you can get for your square body. And it gets even better. Right now, you could save $250 off your complete square body molding kit, whether that's short bed, long bed, blazers, Suburbans, or even crew cabs. That's it. SquareBodyMolding.com, pre-sale, painted to match. If you like that 1-year 1977 yellow, they'll have that too. Pre-orders are going on right now, and they will ship first order, first shipped. So if you've been looking for the best for your square body trim, head on over to SquareBodyMolding.com. I've been buying my truck parts from BrothersTrucks.com for over 20 years now. These guys just aren't selling parts. They build trucks. They have their own trucks. They attend shows. They're part of our community. I saw Jim Flanders at C10s in the Park in Texas and also at Dino's Get Down out here in Arizona. And that's why I continue to buy my parts from Brothers. One thing I remember Jim Flanders saying when I interviewed him for the podcast: when we buy parts, we buy the best parts possible so that you, the consumer, will get the best parts possible. Sure, they have the opportunity to buy a lesser made, lesser quality part, but they know that it's going to you, the C10 Nation. So when you buy your parts from BrothersTrucks.com, rest assured you're getting the best part possible. So when you're looking to restore your 1947 through 87 Chevy or GMC truck, go to BrothersTrucks.com. That's BrothersTrucks.com. C10 Nation, again, working on this history episode, we have Eric Stanczak. Eric is the gentleman who had the opportunity, went down, talked to Mr. Paul Hitch, and I thought, what better kind of interaction than to reach out to Eric and have you on the show. Eric, welcome to C10 Talk, and I'm going to let you say your title because it's kind of long and there's a few things. I don't want to butcher that up. So welcome to C10 Nation. Welcome to C10 Talk, my brother.
Hey, thank you very much, Ronnie. Pleasure to be here and honored as well. My responsibility covers current product Chevy trucks and also the future trucks for the out model years, so after launch. That's what I'm responsible for here at General Motors.
Well, I kind of hit you at a great time. I mean, we know that the 19s and the 2020s are all kind of getting exposed. We've been seeing a lot of the 19s out and about. I've actually seen them. We just had Barrett Jackson. We were there. I actually had the chance and the opportunity to drive the 19, and then they let us take a Corvette out, or at least ride in a Corvette. So GM marketing is doing a great job for not only a 45-year-old man, but his 16-year-old son. We enjoyed the truck. I drove the Trail Boss, and I will honestly tell you, the same thing I told the person test driving, I was amazed at how well that big of a truck handled. So you guys are doing it right.
Hey, thanks a lot. The team's done a great job with this product. One of the most important launches we've ever had, and our marketing team's doing an awesome job following up with a great product the development team put together. So we're super proud. I think we're off to a great start and looking forward with more to come.
Well, let's get into it. I could probably talk to you all day about future stuff, but we had the opportunity, you did, and myself, to interview Paul and kind of go back in time and go back in history. And one of the things that you said, and I'm going to really push my audience to not only watch the video, but what they're going to get from the podcast and the show, was such an amazing comment. And I really think that you nailed it when you said that one of your coworkers, Mr. Tim Herrick, said, those of us working in the company today, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and you got to not only are standing on the shoulder of giants, but you got to interview one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to tell you, Ron, when I look at my career, I've been with General Motors for over 27 years now. This was the single most fun, proud, and exciting moment of my career. Just having this time with Mr. Hitch, being able to spend the day with him, chat, just between engineers, number one, number two, product truck guys, as well as just talking about technology and things like that in general. It was a ton of fun. I was extremely humbled that I had the opportunity to do that, and I was floored with how knowledgeable he was, not only the product that he was responsible for, but technology that's going on today and all things in between. I had a great time. It was a wonderful experience, and the response that we've received as a result of that segment has been humbling, to say the least, and exceptionally proud for me. So I had an absolutely great day, and we've actually stayed in touch, Mr. Hitch and I, and it's great to make a new friend, and I'm honored that I was able to fulfill a role that he started back in the day, and and produce some of the best trucks we've ever made. Obviously with the C10s back in the late 60s, early 70s, and allowed me the opportunity today to continue that tradition with the current product and the products we got coming out in the future. So I had a great time, and I still smile every time I hear about it or I actually see the segment.
Well, it's one thing to make your parents proud, but then to sit down and look at a man who's 101, almost 102, and to know that and I'll honestly tell you, in our interview, he did mention, and he really had told me, he said, make sure you tell Eric I said hi, and then he also said, he's just a really sharp young man, he said about you, and that has to feel really good when you're sitting there again looking at that giant and the interaction. And I know from the video and talking to Doug, his son, we only probably got a snippet of it. There maybe more will be released, or maybe that'll just be an intimate part that you guys had together, but a lot of cool things. And he got to see not only an old square body that you guys have there, that short bed, I've seen that in person, that four-wheel drive, but then you took some new product out, and he's so smart for how old he is.
Oh, absolutely. He was as sharp as a tack. We had an exceptionally exhilarating conversation, not only in his home, but when we went out to take some of the shots of the old truck and of the new Centennial one as well. We just had a great time exploring the differences and similarities between the trucks. We looked at things such as the wheel size differences, the front end, how the architecture has changed. We popped the hood and took a look at things such as hose routings and, the hood blanket on the new truck, things like the triple door seals and how they compared and contrasted to the old truck, and even things to the level of detail like the stitching on the seats and whatnot. And he was exceptionally interested in not only what the content in the truck was, but how we developed it, how we got there, the tools that we used, and how they compared how he did his job back in the day, going from clay models to prototypes, into development vehicles and then ultimately production vehicles. So it was a great time, and like I said, I really enjoyed the time both in his home during the interview and then also exploring the trucks live.
Was there anything that you took from that meeting that you were maybe not quite as knowledgeable on, or something that you didn't know about the process back then, and maybe just whether blown away or really that's what you guys did and that's amazing? How could you do that? Anything that really just kind of hit home with you?
Yeah, I think one of the things that was a little bit surprising was how they used clay models back then and how they quote unquote digitize them, and how similar it is to how we do our products today. We still use clay models today, full scale, quarter scale, half scale, et cetera. We of course use a ton of imaging and digital technology and whatnot, but they actually transferred their clay models once their sculptors got the styling the way they wanted it to. They transferred them onto plates, and then more or less transferred that onto paper and used it in a very similar way that we do today. So that was a bit of a surprise that we were doing that, all the way back in the, in the late 30s, 40s, and in the 50s. And we were both a little bit surprised at how the art side of the automotive business, from, renderings to clay models, is still, I would say, largely unchanged, other than how quickly we can do things from the way it was back in the day. And it still takes humans taking a look at form, running their hand over that form, getting things exactly right, in a full scale before we decide to go and digitize and cut metal. So that was a little bit surprising to me. The other one that I thought was a great story, and you hear a piece of it in the interview, is how the Blazer came to be. And when you listen to that segment, the fact that the sales team thought they could only sell, I think it was about 300 in the first year as a response to the Bronco, and they sold over 5,000 and couldn't get more parts to sell more of them, I think was an amazing story. And obviously the success of that product speaks reams from that point on.
Well, and the irony of that is he's saying that the sales division thought that through the amortization of the expense of the tooling, they couldn't justify not doing it the way they did. They did it with the current, C10 lines and tooling. And it became something that they sold 5,000 the first year. They sold, let's see here, I got the numbers, almost 12,000 the second year, and then the numbers just continue to go up. If they would have known about those numbers, we may not have the Blazer or the Jimmy that we have today that we all love, because they might have allowed a different tooling in theory.
Absolutely. I mean, business cases, were alive and well back then as they are today. And of course, how much you invest and over what volume you can amortize that tooling over is really important. So they did it as economically as they could. And I think clearly the numbers and the success tell the story. They far exceeded the expectations. And I thought that was really neat how, how inventive and ingenious he was in leading the team to put something together in a short period of time, and with the ingenuity that they did to make a great product out of, basically what they had at their disposal already available.
One of the things that we talked about, he alluded to, and this is something I kind of wonder how it is currently, but he talks about how the tooling, kind of staying along that course, really only lasts for 7 years, and then they would change things up. Well, that kind of makes sense how these trucks continue to evolve over that, 5 to 7, 8 year mark. Is that something that you deal with today as well?
Yeah, I mean, we take a look at tool life, obviously, and each part is a little bit different. If you're stamping a 3 mil thick piece of sheet metal versus something that's considerably smaller, the tool life is different. But we obviously have technology today that can monitor the quality of the parts, and we anticipate when they're going to wear out, and we either refurbish them or replace them as needed. So. It's very live and well when you plan out a product that you anticipate how long the tools are going to last based upon the volume associated with your planned product. So, and they did that back then, and we still do it today. We just have, I would say, more advanced technology today to help us estimate that life and the costs of refurbishment or replacement than they did back then.
One of the things I kind of think about from the perspective of technology is we all think, well, the computers and the tech is going to make things easier, but I feel like the vehicles and for the generations between yours and Paul's and mine and to where we are now, the safety has kicked up so much. And myself as a firefighter and a paramedic, we go on calls all the time where when I first got hired, I'll literally remember, a Suburban and the guy's chest, it said Chevrolet written backwards on the guy's chest because he would hit the horn. And now we'll go on a call where vehicles will roll over multiple times, and you'll pull up on the fire truck. You'll get out and you got the jaws of life and you think you're going to do something, and then you look over on the corner and there's 3 people sitting there texting their mom or texting somebody, and you're like, well, where's the people? And they're like, oh, that's our car. We got out. We're good. The point being is how much safety has been built into the vehicles in today's world, that although the technology is there to help you make the vehicles faster and more efficient, there's so many changes from a safety perspective that I don't think they were, really considering back then.
Well, I agree with you. I think they were considering some of those things, just they didn't have the technology we have today to allow them to do some of the things that maybe even the engineers want to do. I mean, computing power today allows us to do things like have StabiliTrack for chassis controls to help, deter a skid if the vehicle's sensing that you're losing control more or less. Things like airbags obviously didn't exist back then, which is a major safety enabler. Even the seatbelt technology, we had seatbelts back then, but we have advanced deployment techniques today that can anticipate a crash and suck the occupant into the seat so that they're positioned properly when an accident does actually happen, and ABS and a number of other technologies. And you're spot on. You take a look at some of these wrecks that occur today and you ask, how did somebody walk away from that? And I get letters on a very frequent basis with images, through email, through written letters and whatnot, thanking the team for having, one of our Silverados or Suburbans or Tahoes for saving them or their families' lives in an accident they had. And I'll tell you, it's due to the great work that the engineers in our company do every single day to continue to not only advance that technology, but to get it to a point where it's exceptionally reliable and it's buildable for our operators and all of our assembly plants to build it with quality every single day. So we're super proud of our products, and you're absolutely right. Technology today has saved, I think, a lot of lives compared to yesteryear, and we're dedicated to doing that here in the company. Safety is our overriding priority, and we keep that in front of us every single day.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I can only imagine from the workers out there putting these things together, not only you and your team, the engineers, but when it comes down to just pride and knowing that, you know, you're saving lives. It is absolutely amazing what a vehicle can do in today's world that we live in. One of the things I was probably, as I kind of listened back to Paul's interview, was how much the sales and the dealerships had from the perspective of talking or getting their vision back from the design perspective. And it seems like it kind of they would work with the design people together with sales. And then you guys would kind of, you know, here you go, guys, here you go, engineers. Now we want you to make this. You want to make it efficient, safe, and cool. And that was a big thing. Is it still that way today, where you're getting a lot of input from your dealership, your sales, and kind of evolved into what we know now as one of the most stylish vehicles out there?
Absolutely. We have a motto and I'd say a guiding principle in the company that puts the customer at the center of everything that we do. And our dealer body is at the forefront of interface with our customers. They deal with them every single day. They hear the direct feedback. And we do have avenues and channels where we poll the dealers. We listen to them. We get them involved in some cases early on with what the customers are asking for, what they like, don't like, et cetera, et cetera. And we have an excellent relationship there. So our dealer body is an exceptionally important part of our overall business. And that customer feedback that they get daily is really like mining gold for us in terms of input for not only the current generation product, making it better, but putting things into the next generation product.
One of the things you talk about next generation and current, you know, I was able to kind of dig through some GM heritage stuff, and obviously you, I'm sure, have as well. There's a few images. I'm amazed at how something that can be, you know, have a handwritten thing that says 1969 on it, 1970, 1971. And then I look at something that's a current, you know, truck like a 16, 17 or an 18 looks so similar. Is that just a coincidence? Is that something where you guys keep some of the lines? Because one thing we joke about from the C10 world, and I do a lot, is how I grew up with these trucks. My dad had these trucks. My grandpa had these trucks. And so as an adult, you say, well, I really like that styling and I like that line. I feel like the lineage, the bloodlines is strong, and you guys continue to kind of follow that path.
Well, thanks, Ronnie. Appreciate that. And yeah, there is absolutely truth to that. I mean, each brand has its own heritage, and we have obviously certain traits and characteristics that we'd like to continue that heritage. And so that's taken into consideration at the Creative Design Studio. They absolutely make sure that when you look at a Chevy truck, you have no question that it's a Chevy truck. And so from generation to generation, there are certain styling cues, certain lines, as you put it, certain proportions, aspects that they take into consideration. We obviously want to freshen the design every time we come out with a new truck, but there is heritage that also has to be maintained, and they work really hard on balancing both of those.
Cool. It really shows through, and it's a neat thing because, you know, we love tradition, and one of the things we say in my house is you can't say the F word, but meaning Ford, but we joke around. My kids know, and it's one of those fun things that we kind of look at those lines. Another thing that kind of was one of those things where when I learned from Paul is just the way that they work. So he works so closely with all these different people, and in the perspective of his engineer and his engineer teams, and the advancement and how it would take a 3-year process to kind of start things up. Is that kind of one of the same things that you guys are dealing with now, where it takes a 3 to 4 year process?
Yeah, well, it depends on the product, and I won't talk about how long it takes us to develop a truck, but in terms of the hands-on piece of it, this team and this organization is very hands-on. It's one of the things I really love about my job is that I get in the vehicles on a very frequent basis. My counterparts do as well. We have a very flat organization, meaning the folks that are engineering each little individual part we meet with, on a daily basis, and we spend a lot of time, different points of the week in the vehicles during the development process. So hands-on is absolutely paramount. You got to know the product, you've got to know the customer, and most importantly, to making sure that what we're doing in designing, developing, validating, and ultimately selling these trucks, they're meeting what the customer's needs are. And to me, you can't do that if you don't have some experience with yourself and you aren't close to the people who are into the details on a daily basis.
Excellent. I think the program that you guys are doing to reach out to Mr. Hitch is obviously, you kind of alluded to how the rewards are going to not only be for you, Eric, and so positive for you as an engineer, as a person, as a man, who's somebody who bleeds GM. Is this something where you guys and or Chevrolet, GM, are you going to continue to try to reach out to some of that history within the company and bring these type of interviews forward if you can?
Well, I think if the opportunity presents itself and it's right for the brand and for the product, we absolutely will. I think, the engineers who work on the products every single day have a good relationship with our communications team. And so if it lines up and we feel that it's something that is positive, that, would benefit our customers and our dealer network and our employees, we absolutely do that for sure.
Good. I think the customer out here, it makes you, again, one of the things I think we look at is the greatest generation, and it's cool to see and hear what they did and how that ties into, what we're driving to today. One of the other questions I did kind of forget was, did you have anything that you would have wanted to ask him after? Because I felt like I have stayed in contact with Mr. Hitch. He's amazing. We've Skyped a few times, but I find myself after I interviewed him like, oh, why didn't I ask him that? Or I just wondered if you had that same feeling, or when you're sitting there in your office, you're like, I wonder if I need to run this by Paul, see what he thinks.
Nothing that comes to the front of my mind. As I mentioned, I had the great opportunity to spend a full day with him. And so we had a very good long conversation in his home, and then extended that into into a very picturesque scene where we took shots of the trucks, and we got a chance to have a lot of ad lib discussion, and then we actually had dinner together. So both Paul and Doug, we spent a lot of time talking about things in general, and I felt exceptionally fortunate to be able to spend that time and pick his brain, and likewise he did mine as well, and it was fun just having that dialogue with him. So, we traded some messages in between then and now. I had the team make up a little 3D printed axle for him. He was a rear axle engineer before he became chief on the trucks. And so we made a little nice desktop model of a current heavy duty axle for him, and he loved it. And we were proud to be able to give that to him as a token of thanks for the interview and for the time he spent with us.
Awesome. Cool to hear. And again, I feel the same way just from the podcast world and the C10 world that we had the time to spend with him. Last question. I don't know if you drive an old truck or an old C10, do you have a style or a favorite that whether you could, if you could buy anyone, do you have a truck favorite or a car favorite that you really dig back from the old days?
I actually have a few, and it's tough to really pick between them. In terms of old trucks, I got a little sweet spot for a 55, sport bed. That's always been my dream truck. Having a little custom job on it, I'll probably have a project one day. My dad's got a couple of 58s that I might take over when I get more room in the garage, but 55 is kind of my soft spot. I do have a 71 Vet, an old Stingray that I've had since I was a teenager, and that's my baby, and that will always have a sweet spot in my heart. But current product, my heart and soul really went into the 2500 and 3500 heavy duty Silverado with the new L5P Duramax, and so that's got a real sweet spot in my heart because we put a lot of work into that truck, and I think its performance and what it's delivered on the road speaks reams. So I know it wasn't one, it was three, but those are the three of my favorites.
Well, it's I think one thing I've realized is it's pretty hard for an old truck guy or an old car guy just to have one for whatever reason it is. There's so many amazing choices when you go back and you hit on the Tri-5s, and then you talk about some of the performance from the Corvette, the Chevelle, the Camaro, and the list goes on and on, even the Nova 2s and all the different cars. And Barrett Jackson just being here in town in Phoenix where I'm at, We got to see every single thing you just talked about, and it is kind of it's like Disneyland for truck and car guys. Eric, you guys and your team to not only make this opportunity available to C10 Talk, to the C10 Nation, and the people that still love your vehicles, drive your old GM vehicles around. Usually that alludes to them driving new GM vehicles around as well. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your honesty, and we're grateful for that. So keep doing what you're doing out there. And if we can ever do anything for you guys back, you ever need anything, please let us know.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ronnie. Appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for the enthusiasm. We love it.